Hello folks, welcome back to the channel. We're back on Freddie Dobbs' Triumph Bonneville. So where we left off, we've done the compression test, we know where we're at there. The next protocol is the charging system health. So I've done a little bit of pre-work, nothing major. So see, I've taken the headlight out, so that's just 2 screws, drop that out and disconnect. So nothing, you know, too challenging there. And I've managed to dig out the alternator wiring from here. It was actually all stuck in above the airbox here and you couldn't get to it, so that took quite a bit of manipulating. I've had to undo some of the airbox to get that visible, but you see here, so these 3 wires are the direct harness from the generator cover, so it comes out the side of the motor here, comes up around the back of the swing arm and to here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to check the resistance from winding to winding, so 3 tests there, and then we'll do a continuity to ground. Now this should be in the realm of 3 to 5.3 to 0.5 ohms across the windings, and we should have absolutely no continuity. It should be open circuit to ground. That gives us a really good indication on the health of the stator. Obviously then we need to do a live test, see what sort of voltage we're getting, AC voltage that is, out of the stator. So you can see this multimeter is reading open load at the moment, and there's our continuity. So from one winding, not sure you're going to see what I'm doing here, but I'm literally just putting the probes across the winding, and you can see there, so we've got 0.3 ohms. .3 ohms and 0.3 ohms. So we're going to check the resistance to ground, so we just want to make sure that this stator isn't shorted out to ground effectively within the engine casing. So terminal 1 and ground, nothing. Terminal 2, ground, nothing. Terminal 3 and nothing. Let's do that on a continuity check. It's a bit more sensitive. No. Not getting any indication of a short to ground. So the stator seems to check out. I'm fairly happy with that. We'll do a live test, see what output voltage we're getting, but that all seems to the book and fairly happy. So we're going to check at the front now. So what we've got underneath the headlight here is the regulator rectifier. It looks like it's potentially the original one off the bike, and we'll get into the specifics of these a little bit later in the video, but essentially the wiring comes in here. Noticed a couple of things going on, and I've spoken to Freddie about it and he said yes, it was him, so I'm not throwing him under the bus for this, but you can see the hole where this comes through at the back here. It's a lovely grommet and it's not in place, so I want to check that there isn't any damaged wire in there as a result of not having that grommet in place. But you have to excuse the interjection here, so this is kind of a little bit in the future but going back in time, because I wanted to talk to you about this. The footage I filmed that this was leading into, the capture wasn't that great, so what do I do? This is the rectifier that I've removed, and as I was showing you, hopefully you can see it a little bit better. So this is the connector for from the main harness. So you've got 3 black and blue wires there which feed up from the connector I was showing for the resistance to ground and continuity check resistance across the windings, and then you can see we've got a black and a brown wire there. Those are the output, the DC output from the rectifier, and this is the connector. So one thing I can say is, although we've all speculated on the water damage to the harness, when I've actually pulled this apart, you can see everything is still grease packed as it was from the factory, and I'm not seeing any real corrosion to any connections. I need to pull all these apart and just double check. But it doesn't seem that bad, and there's not a great deal of evidence of water, some surface rust, but not too bad. But what I wanted to show you was, if I quickly plug this back in here, so that's it engaged. Hopefully you can see this a little bit better now. So this is this connector connected now, nice and square and flush. Now when I took this apart, you see that? This is the state it was in, and this is as good as this connector gets. So if this is down here, I can't say for certain how good the connection is to this rectifier. Now, if you end up high resistance in this connector, then this can be working a hell of a lot harder, and you get heat build up and all sorts of things, and change of inductance and all sorts of manner of things. But you can see you can virtually pretty much unplug this, so that I'm not happy about. Plus I don't think this rectifier is very happy. So back to a few days ago. I'm seeing where my money is so far. Let me know what you think. Okay folks, you're back with me. So, let's get your little chair back. I need to get a better tripod for this. But, that's probably the quickest turnaround I've ever done. So that's the tank back on, we're all back in place. So we'll do a ignition off voltage check with our lovely propped meter again, hopefully. There we go. So there he is, and we are seeing 12.72 volts. Okay, so I'm happy with that. And then what I'm going to do is connect across the windings like so, and we will go on to AC voltage there. So now on AC voltage, connected into across two windings here. Obviously we're not going to get any charge into the battery yet because the regulator rectifier is disconnected. We'll get into the fuel pump situation. Neutralizer will be a piece of kit to find. Okay, so enrichener open. I'll just crack my doors so I don't get gassed out. Clutch is pulled in, and here we go. We've got 25 volts on idle. There we have it. I am quietly confident now that the regulator rectifier is the issue in this charging circuit. The stator checks, it's both static, checking the resistance across the windings and the resistance to ground, checked out okay, and then the run-in test, we're like 20 to 25 volts at low RPM, pushing right up to 60, 65 volts per winding at higher RPM. So I'm happy with the output of that stator. I don't think we've got any issues there. Now, in terms of the live DC test, we're 13.6 volts flat the whole way through, no matter where you are in the rev range. Now, I'd want to be seeing that, especially at higher RPM, up at like 14.3 volts somewhere there, before it's clipping off and shunting that to dissipate as heat via ground. So, I'm not happy with that rectifier. I think it's tired. And obviously the key with these is it's a diode based rectifier, the standard original factory fit one, and they're not efficient, plus as they get warmer they get less efficient. So it would not surprise me if this bike is going down the road, especially with that alternator
kicking out more and more and more, that breaking down. So I believe that is the culprit. The other thing is, as we found taking the headlight apart, that connector isn't the best. Now I've got a potential upgrade for this to get it onto a MOSFET rectifier, which is a much better piece of technology, much more efficient. They run a lot colder and you get a much more efficient voltage output. It's actually standard equipment now on modern Triumphs, the new T120 Bonneville, the Tiger, yeah, across the board, and a lot of other manufacturers are using this particular MOSFET rectifier that I'm looking at. So I spoke to Freddie about it. He's happy with us doing that. So I'm going to get one of those ordered up, plus the things we need to modify the connections and possibly relocate back close to the battery. So yeah, I think we've got a conclusion here on the charging issue. We've still obviously got the rough running to deal with. Thank you for joining me in this one. Thank you to everybody that has watched the previous video and the responses on that. It has been overwhelming. All your comments and the likes are so welcomed. So I appreciate the support in one way, shape or form, whether whatever lengths we have to go to. This bike will be on the road again. I'm fairly confident of that. So yeah, click like, subscribe, all the good stuff. I will definitely see you in the next one, and thank you for watching.